Crazy 8. Nah. Or we could watch this Princess Moonfire tape. Maybe a sleepover was a bad idea.
Welcome back, video creeps. First and foremost, make sure that you like the video, then drop a quick comment just to say hello. I want to know how you've been since the last time I seen ya, and hit the notification bell so that way you always know when I drop a new video. Y'all, I've been wanting to go over this movie since I started this channel. There's a very small group of horror movies that I remember watching on my journey to where I am now with horror and just thinking man, I'm a cool guy because I like this movie and that's a cool movie. You ever just see something and it just feels like a flex because you know about it? It just makes you feel good about yourself. That's how I feel about this movie. And I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the exact same way. Maybe not specifically with this film, but I know that when you guys think about this movie, you also think about Martin Scorsese, or the heavy-handed feminist innuendos that make this film what it is, because they're running amok in this film. Think I'm joking? Well, hang around, because we're going to be going over a ton of really cool facts and behind-the-scenes information about this wonderful 1982 classic, Slumber Party Massacre. Close your eyes for a second, and you'll sleep forever. Remember, watch the whole video. Don't be a bitch. The story of Slumber Party Massacre starts with a woman named Amy Holden Jones, photographer turned filmmaker, after taking classes at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. After making her first documentary, A Weekend at Home, for her school and entering it into the American Film Institute National Students Festival. Great name, couldn't think of another name. She wins first fucking place, making everybody across the nation look just like a bitch. Now this is very important because one of the judges on that panel was none other than legendary Martin Scorsese himself. We're just coming up aces across the board here. However, that won't last forever. Not soon after that, Amy found herself on fucking hard times, learning that life is real motherfucking hard, and without financing backing her creative endeavors, she found herself stagnant and letting life overtake her creative, intuitive nature. But as fate is one to wave its magical little wand, she came across an article about Martin Scorsese as he was blowing up and starting to work on a brand new film. She reached out asking if he remembered her, and 5 days later, he offered her a job working on Scorsese's mega popular hit, Taxi Driver, with fucking De Niro and shit. This is when she makes the next big connection in her career, meeting film producer Robert Corman, helping him with the film Hollywood Boulevard. But growing tired of editing and knowing that she was capable of so much more, she decides to take a big swing, grabbing one of Corman's scripts and producing it on her own for a budget of $1,000. Tenacity like that is what led her to work on E.T. However, in an incredibly ballsy move, she decides to straight up walk away from the Steven Spielberg project, giving up that opportunity in order for her to make her fucking directorial debut with a little film called Slumber Party Massacre. Now, the script was actually written by another woman, Rita Mae Brown, a feminist activist who's best known for her book, Ruby Fruit Jungle. It's an autobiographical coming-of-age story about becoming a lesbian, and even more important, her journey to becoming an author. And for a film written and then directed by two different women, about a minute and a half into this film, you start to shed the belief that that could even be possible. Shoehorning the main characters like tits in the first 2 minutes of the film, and injecting a mass unnecessary shower scene just full of naked girls and close-ups of tits and asshole. This is a decision directly influenced by Robert Corman, who had found a lot of success in exploitation film, with a catalog of films that include X, The Man with X-Ray Eyes, Bloody Mama, The Intruder, The Wasp Woman, Bucket of Blood. The list continues to go because Robert Corman has just had his hand in so many films. To a sense, having nudity in a Robert Corman film was more important than having sex in a Robert Corman film. And this movie is no different. No one has sex in this movie. His audience just knew that when you sat down for a Robert Corman film, you're guaranteed three things: butts, tits, and blood. So even with these notes that both women didn't exactly prefer, they continued to be professional. Rita initially penning a script called Sleepless Nights, that of course would be later on retitled to Slumber Party Massacre. In her mind, the film was a complete parody of the genre. She wanted to poke fun at that tone and the sexist over-stereotypes that you see in movies, specifically around this time in horror. Now that's what Rita brought to the table. However, with Amy's vision as a director and dedication to film this as a straightforward horror film, creating this unique melting pot of dark humor and graphic imagery. With a budget of $220,000 and distribution by New World Pictures, they set out to look for their cast of girls who were willing to get naked on screen and die. And they did, ultimately finding their girls and raking in about $3.6 million. That is over 15 times its initial investment. Yet somehow Slumber Party Massacre still isn't a household name. So why is that? Truth of the matter is just middling reviews across the board. Remember, we're lucky enough to live in this amazing age where you can find a reviewer who you connect with. Because where we are with technology, anyone can pick up a camera and let you know their views, and maybe you align with that. The options are bountiful. But back in the 1980s, publications like the New York Times, Variety, Time Out, these sources held such dominion and weight, holding the fate of a film's success merely on the back of their words. And unfortunately, Slumber Party Massacre was one of the movies that felt the brunt of that power. However, even with that said, making Slumber Party Massacre still begat a lot of really great memories. The cast will speak at length about the creative process, and crediting this as being the thing that opened up their eyes to the possibility of a career in this business. A standout in this movie, of course, is Brink Stevens, who from this film has remained in the horror industry for over 30 years, appearing in over 200 horror films. A list that would be so long that it would be its own video. Check out her IMDb, it's amazing. The girls on set have memories of Michael Villela, who plays Russ Thorne in this movie, the bad guy, the driller killer. They have all these stories about him actually isolating himself from the rest of the cast. He took it upon himself to create this really interesting distance between him and them. Whenever they would see him on set, he would be polishing that fucking drill. With not building a rapport, on screen, he was able to create this really cringe and uncomfortable encounter between these girls and him. And it does work in the film, it is effective. Another really big and important influence on the driller killer is the 1974 book Helter Skelter, citing a specific line in the book, describing why the killer does what the killer does. And when asked, and you see it in the film itself, the murderer simply replies, "Because I love you." That simple line became a huge catalyst for the psychopathic, bloodthirsty driller killer that Russ is. Now, on a very sad note, Robert Still, who plays the main character of Valerie in this movie, tragically took her own life in 1996, shocking her cast members, as they fondly remember her and their time working with her, saying that the girl on screen was the girl that she was in real life. Every bit as caring and every bit as sweet. So big rest in peace to Robin. Now that is super sad, so I'm gonna throw some quick little trivia at ya before we get into the movie and our final thoughts. Now, while they did ultimately end up changing the name from Sleepless Nights to Slumber Party Massacre, they actually kept that working title throughout most of the production. So that way onlookers and like passerbyers wouldn't be freaked out that they were killing a bunch of teenagers. They wanted to give off the impression that they were making like a super classy, how do you do it? Like a fucking a classy fucking film. It took 3 weeks to complete all of the filming for this movie, and they got super innovative during that time. For example, Robert Corman refused to provide the set with a generator, and since a lot of these shots are filmed at night, the cast members would actually pull up their cars and turn on their headlights to illuminate sets in the middle of the night. Like, Cool, I love things like that specifically. That's dedication to a film. Way to use what you got. Now, Slumber Party Massacre has 2 more installments, Slumber Party Massacre 2 and Slumber Party Massacre 3. And if you are hungry for a 4th one, the good news is, it exists. Jim Wynorski made a film called Cheerleader Massacre in 2003, and it was created to be a direct sequel to Slumber Party Massacre 3. In fact, there's even a fan remix out there that adds Ralph Jones' score to Cheerleader Massacre and an additional prologue that connects the 2 films together. The entirety of the movie has an impressive 12 kills that go down. Let's have a slumber party and see which unfortunate souls don't make it out alive. That was Ursula, because fucking I'm watching Disney and shit. I know things now. So no funny business. As soon as we start off, you hear that super quirky music that Slumber Party Massacre is known for. And there's a reason for that. All of the music in this film was created by Ralph Jones and completely composed on a tiny Casio keyboard, which I think when listening, you can tell. It really adds a unique and charming layer to the film sonically alone. 2 minutes and 2 seconds in, those titties that we were talking about gets delivered, but what we don't talk about is how nice the titties are. Damn nice titties. Titties you want to take on a respectable date. We see our main character packing away her Slinkies and her Barbie dolls, and this fucking poster of Richie Tenenbaum. She proceeds to throw her childhood in the garbage, but a mysterious hand roots through the bag, pulling out a Barbie doll. Because a sex doll is a sex doll, y'all. We see a beautiful technician getting hit on by underage boys and really takes it like a trooper. I can tell she's gonna be a really cool character in this movie. Nah, forget, she's fucked, she's dead. Catching a drill right to the face. We see a girls' basketball game where my personal crush of the movie, Diane, refuses to throw the ball. Also, Diane looks a lot like my first kiss. What up, Natil? Fucking, I know you're gay now, but I appreciate the love. Things were hot back then. The girls get nice and naked and start talking about a rad party that they're gonna be having later on that night. And giving a dog a bone, they decide to invite the new girl, Valerie. Valerie declines and the girls go on about their way, but this is when the adorable little Linda realizes that she left a book back in her locker. So she heads back only to realize that she has been locked into the school. And unfortunately, danger finds her. I mean, God, look at how high this guy's collar is. He's bad to the bone. He begins chasing her with his drill and slices her right across the arm. And she's able to evade him for a little bit until her inevitable off-screen demise. I'm sorry, Brink, you really deserve better than like an off-screen kill and 2 minutes of titties. However, if you really want to go see her naked, I have a ton of nude pictures of her on my Patreon. Ain't no rules on Patreon. That link to the Wild West Video Creep Patreon is down below. Fucking come on over. We see and hear Trish play the piano all wrong and off track. It's pretty funny. And the girls start to pile in, getting the approval to smoke illegal weed from like their creepy next door neighbor dude. Meanwhile, we see Val and she's babysitting when her sister hears a weird noise, so she goes to check it out. And during this very small window, her little sister decides, why not look at porn? Like, yo, how desperate was she sitting there, waiting for her sister to get up and go, that the first sign of an opportunity to go look at porn, she is running up the stairs. Like, clearly that entire time, in that girl's head, she was just like,
bitch, you got me fucked up right now. I'm trying to look at some juicy ass dicks. You over here, you got me real fucked up. I can fucking not kill you, bitch. I can't stand you.
Also, why is she frantically looking? Like, everybody knows where the porn is. When I was a kid, I was like a fucking truffle pig for that shit. I knew where it was. Now, while speaking of getting a good look, the girls are being spied on by these 2 fucking pervert boys. I don't even know if I can say pervert on YouTube anymore. Like, fucking, you guys have so many words that I can't say and shit. Whatever, like, fucking, I'm already not gonna make money on this video, right? So, like, fucking, perverts. They're perverts. They're fucking however you spell it. Again, become a Patreon. I need the money. My love, Diane, heads out to the garage to get firewood wearing the stupidest fucking shirt I've ever seen. Is it meant to look backwards? Is that a thing? We get some on-screen snail murder by fucking Mr. Creepy Neighbor Guy, and then some just murder on that same guy, but by the driller killer. Good, fuck him. Like, that guy was a fucking psychopath. Who goes around killing snails with a butcher? Dude, you're fucked up. Motherfucker's brains are scrambled and shit. Like, fucking, he's all good with these girls getting half naked and doing drugs. You know, drugs at that point. But he's Mr. fucking cool and shit. He's like, nah, it's cool, girls, get naked, do your thing. I'm gonna be out here just butchering these snails. Now the girls get a little spooked out and they decide to make sure that all the windows and fucking garage doors are closed and shit. But when they do, they don't realize that the driller killer is lurking in the dark. It makes me think about that old urban legend, the one with the two college girls that are roommates. One's a party animal, the other one's kind of a little study bug. The two girls get into an argument talking about how the party girl always comes in all loud, and if the light's off, you keep that shit, you keep it quiet. So the party girl comes back inside, she forgets her phone or some shit, remembers what her roommate says, keeps the lights off, starts feeling around for her phone. Everything feels wet. She goes, oh, my fucking roommate clearly dropped a cup of water, this bitch. Doesn't turn on the lights. Goes out, has a party, comes back the next morning, opens up the dorm. Her roommate is completely murdered and there's blood everywhere. And written on the wall, it says, aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? Ooh, that shit fucks me up. I heard that shit when I was real young and I never forgot it. Now back to the house, privacy is being broken and lights are being cut. So the girls head back into the garage in order to check out the fuse box, and this is when they discovered that these boys have been lurking around all night. Meanwhile, Valerie's still checking out weird noises and shit, gets almost shanked in the dark by Courtney because fucking Valerie made a joke that she was jerking off dicks in the 5th grade. Kind of a big solution, don't you think? Christ, Courtney takes the public opinion of her character very seriously, which is weird because I feel like everyone likes to jerk dicks off, right? And like, everyone likes getting their dick jerked off. I don't see the problem. Now, Diane tries to get away in order for her boyfriend to blow her back out. However, when she comes back to meet up with her boyfriend, like his head has fallen off, and then my crush just dies right in front of my eyes. Honestly, that's what you get for fantasy cheating on me. Now with the body count just getting higher and higher, the girls can no longer deny that something weird is going on. Especially after their pizza guy shows up like this. They send the guys out to run for help because that's all men are good for, and one of them immediately catches a fucking drill to the chest. The other guy successfully makes it to Valerie's house, but before he can actually connect with her, he gets stabbed in the chest way too many times to continue living. It's just, we don't allow it. Now, while the girls wait for the boys to come back with help, hunger strikes. And one of the girls decides that just because the pizza was delivered by a dead guy doesn't mean that the pizza's any less delicious. Solid logic, honestly. Not eating that pizza, that's just like a mental thing that's fucking with you. Like not being able to eat while somebody's throwing up next to you or something. From this point on, the driller killer just has a fucking killing spree. Killing all the remaining slumber party girls and leaving our sweet Valerie to wonder where everybody is. But I can't just blow past all of the killing, especially when there's one scene in particular where the two girls are locked and barricaded in a room talking about the killer and how maybe Valerie's in cahoots with him. All the while, like a cartoon character, he's sneaking in through the window. It's fucking so good. It's that subtle humor that's in this thing that just was unescapable from Rita's original script. Now, the final act to this movie is Valerie trying to take down the driller killer while Courtney runs around like the annoying little asshole that she is. She's my least favorite character in this movie. Their teacher comes in just in time to get killed, but gives Trish enough time to reveal that she's still alive and stab him in the back. But he gets the high ground Obi-Wan Kenobi style, and he has this really effective speech, one of the only times that he speaks in the movie, honestly, where he just tells him that he loves him. Again, helter skelter coming through. Val comes in with a fucking machete and chops his fucking drill in half, then cutting his hand off, slicing him through the stomach, and he falls into a pool, which the actor actually says that was the hardest thing for him to film in this entire movie, because he can't swim and he hates water. However, because we always have to have a the villain gets back up scene, Russ begins to strangle Val, slapping her around with his one good hand, before Val is able to stab him again right through the heart and officially killing this guy. Everybody cries and the movie fucking ends.
Final thoughts.
What a perfect slice of 80s slasher cheese. And in a really smart and non-aggressive way as well. I love that this movie has 2 layers, and both are equally important to really understand the subtext of this film. On the surface, it's this really corny, in-tone film about girls who get murdered by a crazed maniac. But what an insult to this film to only think about it in that context. Specifically because it's that deeper layer that really makes this film stand aside from some of its other partners. It easily can be interpreted as another teenage slasher film, but I think that ignores the bigger picture of what's happening in this film. Rita's central metaphor is about a girl being afraid of losing her virginity. That's what the poem is about. She's running away from that guy with that big thing. It's such an important and valuable lesson to learn when watching this movie, especially the ending with Valerie cutting that drill in half. It's hard as a male to watch that scene and not immediately feel like your dick has just been cut in half. It speaks to the mental fortitude of this film, and it's subliminal, but it's against a strong woman standing up against a truly awful man, and breaking down this interpretation that a woman can be treated however a man chooses. And what I personally enjoy about it is that it's not pushy. It's extremely subliminal, but it is there and you don't have to look hard to see it. The drill itself is a representation of the toxic masculinity that women fear. To be clear, this movie is not about hating men or making men the bad guy, which I was shocked to see all the articles snubbing this film for being anti-male, saying that Rita's script had a harmful feminist agenda. Wild. What I think is going on here is you're just a sensitive little bitch, bro. Especially when you look comparatively at the injustices when it comes to this scale. The genre is riddled with nonsense and extreme violence towards women. And it's not even like this movie, the guy wins the whole time. A fucking crazy amount of women die in this movie. The fact that they even tried to add a layer of context to support their argument when looking at the oversaturated genre, and that hurts your feelings, bro, go cry about it. Slumber Party Massacre, on the surface, is one of those really fun slasher classic guilty pleasures with a very silly edge that keeps you smirking throughout the film. Now, I think we all know that this movie is not perfect by any means. One of the things that I think is most egregious about this movie is that the killer has no motivation. He's just like a crazed maniac who like fucking escaped, like he's a madman. That's unfortunate, specifically with what you're trying to tell with this story. I would love to see more about this character and why he is the way that he is and why he treats women this way. Him being like mindless, it just seems like a product of the time where, you know, if you have a killer and you have some characters, they can fucking be put in a movie and there you go. Which isn't enough for me as a person who enjoys film. The cold hard facts is that he's just not a very fleshed out character, and the fact that Michael was able to do so much with it, you know, that's commendable. But even if so, without that storyline infused with the film, it makes him a pretty forgettable slasher. Luckily, like I said, there are 2 more installments in the Slumber Party Massacre franchise, and then there's Cheerleader Massacre. However, if you're looking for a background on specifically Russ Thorne, that's not gonna happen, because like there's a new killer in part 2 and then a new killer in part 3. They jump around, but they're still fun films. And to be honest, come on, when you think of the Driller Killer and you think of Slumber Party Massacre, you think of the killer from part 2. Look at this fucking guy, he's just cool. But we can get into that on another video. Guys, I want to thank you all for staying to the end of my video. If you forgot to like the video, here's just a quick reminder for you to get in there. Just click it, I'll wait. Thanks. Please drop a comment, that way I know what you thought about this movie or this review, or even if you just want to chat and be friends, talk about it. Having a really active community in the comments means a lot to me. It makes me feel good when I see you guys interacting and when we get to talk. So please do me that solid and drop a little something. And if you want even more exclusive content, become a Patreon of mine. You'll find that link in the description of this video along with all of my social medias, so that way you and I can be friends. Of course, no pressure. I'm glad that you're just here, and I can't wait to hang out with you on the next one. Till then, peace, video creeps.
I have the biggest dick that anyone has ever seen. If you don't believe me, ask these guys, they know what I mean. Rebecca Reviews and Kyoko Larry Sherman and Corey Stewart, Carwoman and Spooky, Butcher's Grindhouse, Lord Lorax Gore, Runs with Punks, Michael Andrews, Mandy, Captain Boots, Grimnir, Survivor's Guilt, Flag Voorhees, and Wig Wolf. Wouldn't you agree that I have the biggest dick in the world? That's why they're my Patreons, cause they know that I have the biggest dick in the world. Everyone talks about it, it's just too crazy not to make a discussion about, because it's so awesome and everybody goes, hey, look at that thing.